Hey, everybody. Did you miss me? I was only on twice yesterday. I feel like, Vicki, I'm going to be on and people are like, didn't I just see you? Because it's kind of like bundle week, only it's Whole Food Plant-Based Ninja Creami ebook 2 week. And I've been saying, I truly believe this with all my heart, I put all my creativity in the recipes and none of it in the title, just to make it easier on all of us. I am a little tired. I am a little punchy, but I do have a cute Pride Gideon Bat shirt on, so hopefully that will perk us all up. And, of course, I have the awesome Vicki Gok from Arbor Vegan Kitchen on today. And she's just delightful. If you guys know her at all, you know she's just the sweetest. Like, whenever we hang out and talk, even if it's 5 minutes, I'm like, why don't you live near me? And why aren't we having coffee every day? And just like, right? Because you're so positive. You exude this really positive energy. And I feel like that's so needed. So thank you. And I would love, Sid is here. Sid Notter's here. Let's say some hellos. Jill is here. Pam Purcell says chocolate. It comes from the cocoa bean. Enough for this RD to watch. Yeah. People have all the feels about chocolate for sure. Oh, you're so funny. Lissa says, hey there, everyone. I'm looking forward to this at me. Can I just tune in and follow you all day today? Haha, I'm just in the mood. Seriously, I feel like the most boring person that gets to do the most live events. I was telling Vicki that every day I've had a live, but also every day we went to the dentist and had our checkup. We took the cat in for the checkup today. It was to take Mr. Maxie in for his checkups and a little blood work because he's 13. We want to make sure everything's good. But it's like we never have a week that we have something like that every day, much less something like that and alive. Oh, yay, and Apple is here. Yay, Apple. I'm excited to see Vicki and Kathy together. They're both so creative. Vicki is very creative. And Mary says, hi, Kathy, and hopefully Cheryl. Cheryl is in a meeting, but if she comes up, she can come in. This week at work, actually, she's had to go into work 3 days this week, and usually she goes in once a month. So it's been exciting. And I think, let's see, Mona's here. The Sky Warrior just bought the ebook. And you guys, the link down below, you can buy the ebook. So I had a pre-order kind of bonus that I extended through the end of day tomorrow, through like midnight, probably everybody's midnights. So don't worry, maybe not like Singapore's midnights. I always forget who's a day ahead, but we'll figure it out. You will be able to come into the live class for free on Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time if you buy the book. So I'm compiling all those email addresses now to send you links, and I will send a link on Friday, and I will send a link on Saturday right before the class, so you guys will be able to go. Normally that's $35 for a class, and I will be shocked if it's less than 2 hours. My classes are usually 2 to 3 hours. So this isn't some fluff where I'm just saying 5 things, the top 10 things Ninja Creami can do, and then we're gone. I'm going to answer your questions, as many as I can. We'll make some recipes and we'll talk about the machines. So it's going to be really comprehensive. Valerie says hello from Phoenix. Let's see. Oh, everybody's chatty. Mona says looking forward to chocolate. It's my favorite. So many awesome people. Mary Jean says, got the book, so I want to see you on Saturday. Wahoo! I'm excited. It's going to be so much fun. So Vicki, I'm going to turn this over to you for a minute for you to talk about and introduce yourself, so that way I'm not reading the blurb. Like, I'm not a good blurb reader. And plus, we want to get to know you. So tell me kind of what brought you to being the wonderful recipe developer you are, and some projects maybe that you have after this too.
Well, thank you so much, Kathy, for inviting me today. I'm so happy to be with you and with all of our audience today. I am so excited that you asked me to contribute a recipe to your book because, I mean, ice cream, yes, so for
Right?
sure. And so, yes. And so, yeah, I was really excited to be able to contribute something that's very easy and it's actually very good. It's like super delicious. It's one of my favorites that is on my continual rotation at home. And, and it's just super easy. It's 6 ingredients, 5 really. So, yeah, so I'm really excited to be able to share this with you. And you know, one of the things that I'm working on, in addition to the ice cream contribution, and that we're going to look at in a moment, and I want to get started with that to show you how easy it is because it's so good. But I also recently just completed my dessert book, which is
Ooh.
called Feel Great Desserts, and that's available on my website, which is AnnArborVeganKitchen.com. And what I do is blog, create recipes, and share them at Ann Arbor Vegan Kitchen. I've been doing that since 2012, creating and sharing recipes. And I'm a certified personal chef and a master vegan lifestyle coach. So I work with people transitioning to a plant-based diet really all over the country who often have a health challenge that they're looking to reverse or avoid. And and so we work together to figure out what the obstacles are to kind of get them from where they are to where they want to be. And we work together for a month or several months, depending on what's best for them. And I'm also a plant-based culinary instructor. So a lot of the work I do is either online with groups or in person if you're in the Michigan, Ann Arbor area, where we can actually meet together either in my kitchen or depending on, you know, where you are. Sometimes I can come to you as well. And I work with teams and do team building events and help people understand that this way of eating is delicious and easy. And there's all kinds of reasons why we want to learn to include more plant foods in our diet. And so I'm here for people at every stage, right? Because we all are on this journey and we're not all at the same point of the journey. A lot of people have some universal questions that tend to be kind of tricky for people to figure out how to work around. And so, yeah, so that's exactly what I do is kind of help them with all those things.
I love that. And I went, Vicky's seeing me go off camera, you guys aren't. And I was typing in, so in the chat, I put in how you can get Vicky's ebook. It's right there. You can click on the link. I also went ahead and put a link in for the ebook too. And this is, actually, this is Vicky's contribution, which I called Vicky's Chocolate Cocoa Ice Cream. Again, names are not my forte, but
You're so funny. I mean, that is exactly what it is. It's just like the best chocolate ice cream, and it's made with cocoa, and so it's like really, really, you know, chocolatey and satisfying, and really simple and just good for you. So,
and
yeah,
it's
we're on the same page with how we like to prepare ice cream. I mean, it's just all the good stuff and none of the bad stuff.
oh, that's awesome. And let's let you prepare it, and then I'm going to spin it too
Okay.
later on. So
Yeah.
just so everybody out there knows, so like since it's sitting here and it's a little warm today, chances are I might not have to respin it, or it might even be a little softer than normal. And if you guys have some questions about that at the very end, we can talk about that too, because how cold your freezer is, how long you leave it out, what setting you use, all those things can change the texture, but you can make it the way you want. So don't stress over that.
Right. And also, maybe you have your temperature a certain way, but you've got a lot of stuff in your freezer. That can affect how fast things freeze and stuff like that too, right? So, or if you have a lot of stuff or a little in your refrigerator, and at least our refrigerator kind of acts that way. It sort of adjusts how things are cool depending on what else is happening throughout the whole structure. So sometimes I notice that this same ice cream might be harder or softer, and I'll show you because I have some that I made ahead, and I'll scoop some out as well. But yeah, so this is how easy it is. We're going to just start with a blender, and this recipe you can of course make more and double or triple depending on how many pints you want to have. I'm making just enough for 1 pint right now, or, for just the way the recipe is, which is for the 2 cups pint size. And so we're starting with your choice of milk. I'm using soy milk because I'm always trying to find more ways to put soy milk into my diet. That's kind of my go-to, although I do use almond milk a lot too. That's kind of my second most common. But you can use any kind of plant milk you want. So if you like oat milk or whatever it is that you prefer, feel free to use that right here. And this isn't even a time that I have to say, make sure it's not flavored, because it could be a vanilla. I mean, that'd be fine. But yeah, I'm using a plain, unsweetened soy milk, and I would recommend unsweetened. That would just be my preference. But that's only because we are adding a sweetener. So I don't think you would need additional. But again, that's up to you.
And
so I'm going to just put
it. Soy milk at all yet?
I'm not making soy milk.
You into it yet?
No, I'm not making soy milk, but I do make oat milk. I'm sorry, not oat milk. I have made oat milk. That's not my favorite. I have made almond milk, and I've made almond cashew milk, and I have made oat milk. I've made all of those, and I've made ice cream with them. And that's my favorite way to make those milks. But I haven't ventured into the soy milk that I've seen you make that requires a different machine than I have. I've got the almond cow.
You can make it. Okay, so I wouldn't make soy milk in the almond cow unless you already have it, because it doesn't have heat. What I like is I use the Meomat. I'll show you guys again real quick. And it doesn't, and actually this is full of soy milk that I need to strain. In fact, I was like, that's heavier than I thought it was going to be. So what happens is this.
Do you always make your own? You always make your own?
I do now. I didn't always, and then I did over the pandemic because I couldn't find it. But it's just in here and it's warm. So what you can do is soak or not soak your beans. Put them in here with water, and you press a setting, and then 20 minutes later, it's ready to strain. So it's actually kind of takes less time than me going to the store and getting it now. If you're not making soy milk, you do not need a machine with heat. The machines with heat are like Soy Joya, the Meomat, the smaller Archmira. But what I love about making my own soy milk is that I have that okara, the soy milk pulp, when I strain it. And I'm using that in some of the recipes to thicken things up. And I'm actually making things like okara ricotta. So like, it's crazy. So you take the stuff out, it looks like ricotta already, add a little nutritional yeast, a little lactic acid, salt or salt substitute. And we made a whole lasagna with that. It was just sauce, that, and lasagna, and it was that good. So that's why, if you love soy milk, which not everybody does, and some people have allergies, and you don't have to have this one, you can use your Vitamix. You could cook the soybeans and then puree them and strain them. So there's all different ways you can do it. You don't have to have this machine. And lots of people just cook it on the machine and then just puree it and go on about their business. I'm lazy. So this is, and I've made so much soy milk for this book, just so you guys know. Like, sometimes I've made at least a batch every day for the past month.
Wow. Yeah. So does it make a quart or so?
It makes about 5 cups, 4 to 5 cups. And then usually I use a half a cup of soybeans, and then I use 5 cups of water. And then I'm using this really fine strainer, and I'm getting about a cup of okara with each batch. And you can freeze the okara too. So anyhow, this is why I'm probably going to be doing an okara book for next year, because whatever I'm excited about, I'm like, let's just let that neurospicy go do its thing. And because I really am excited about it, because it's something most people compost, but it's full of fiber and good stuff.
It's so great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what color is it? You're starting with a black bean? Are the soybeans black?
That is a great question. I believe you can use black soybeans, and I have some. This is my little owl of soy milk goodness. Hello. Okay. And so they're just these little yellow soybeans. I'm using Laura's soybeans. I get asked this a lot, and I'm not sure why. I get mine on Amazon, and they're non-GMO, and they're U.S. grown. But you can even go to the Asian market, and you can get non-GMO beans there too. And now I'll be quiet with that. I'm not being paid by any soy corporation, but I
I
just
love
can't
that.
help
That's
myself.
really helpful. That's really, really interesting to me too, because I do love soy milk. I use the Trader Joe's kind that's just organic soybeans and water. It's just those two ingredients. And so I like it really pure. And the idea of making my own has always just sounded too, like, complicated. And I'll say I'm lazy too. Although I will say for both of us, it's not really lazy. It's just that we really just don't have the time to spend not doing things. We're trying to be efficient, I think
You
is what
have
it
to
is. Okay, let's just say that.
prioritize. You do
Yeah.
have to prioritize things.
Yeah, that's right. Because we only have so much time in a day. So, like, what do we want to do? So, yeah, so we're starting with, let's say it's homemade, but whatever kind of milk you want to use that is non-dairy milk. And then I'm adding a sweetener. And you do have a choice of sweeteners, like so many different possibilities depending on what you like. Today, I am using date syrup. You can actually use, and Kathy and I went back and forth on this because I usually use date syrup just because it's very easy, but I wanted to make sure that I gave her the right amount of actual dates that were pitted instead. So I made it with dates in as well, even though I normally use date syrup for this.
Which
And
was
if
so
you are a person,
sweet of you. I just want you to know
oh,
how much I appreciated that. That was such a kind thing to do.
oh my gosh, I was delighted to. And my family was delighted about it too, because that's what we had dessert. And it was really good that way. I will say that the flavor was pretty much the same both ways. I will say that when I used actual dates rather than date syrup, I thought that it froze a little bit harder. And so,
Mhm.
like, when I went back to it later, it was a little more solid than with the date syrup, which kind of makes sense because the texture is a little bit different. So if you're using the date syrup, I'm using a third of a cup. And if you're using dates, then you would use basically about 4 or of the McDougall, or double that if you're using the McDougall-compliant, which is usually what I use. So they're the smaller dates, and you just want to make sure they're pitted as well. So the McDougall about 4, and about 8 of the McDougall-compliant, or you could use date paste if you have that choice instead. And then I'm adding raw cashews, and I actually wanted to say, if you wanted to lower the fat, you could use, instead of cashews, you could use cashew powder. And of
Mhm.
course, Kathy gives you all kinds of substitutes if you are avoiding nuts, or if you're avoiding even cashew powder, or avoiding nuts entirely, or any kind of nut product. There's all kinds of substitutes in her book. So she has made it so easy to customize every recipe. Truly, I mean, I really do think this is a work of art, this book that you've created. It's amazing. It's full of so many things I'm excited to try myself. So I'm really happy to have my copy right here that I printed off, because I'm so excited about everything inside. I love ebooks because there's so much information, and a lot of times I just get so excited about it. But every once in a while, I print one off because I know I'm going to be using it over and over and over. And this is one of those. So next, I'm putting in my cocoa or cacao powder. I like to use cacao just because it's just slightly more antioxidants, I am told. And so I like to use that version, which is a raw product for us. But either is fine. And so I'm just using an unsweetened cacao or cocoa powder here. And then the next thing I'm doing is just the vanilla. You can use either vanilla extract or vanilla powder. And I've used both, and they're both good. And then I'm putting in a sprinkle of salt, which you definitely don't have to do. If you're a salt-free person, just leave that out. I do usually like to add that in because I kind of like that flavor, but definitely don't stress if that's something you want to avoid. Feel free to avoid that. And then here's what we're going to do. We're going to just blend it. So that's how simple it was, just very few ingredients. And now we're just blend it up.
And you guys, it's just so awesome. One of the things to know too is I know some people don't use cocoa at all. You're avoiding all caffeine. You could use carob powder, or you could even put none of that in and just put in some, I don't know, blueberries or strawberries or something like that. You could still use this as a base, especially if you like using date syrup. This is the perfect base recipe for you.
And this is such a fun recipe because, I mean, well, you're getting chocolate ice cream, so that makes it fun to start with, but you can put anything you want on top of it, I mean, as well. So it's just so good. Or if you happen to make some homemade cookies, it makes a great ice cream sandwich. So, yeah, so we're all set here. We've got our blended
Mm.
mixture, which is kind of like a milkshake at this point. And as I mentioned to Kathy, I have used a Ninja Creami in the past, but I, full disclosure, usually use a Breville machine in my house that I've been using long before they invented the Ninja Creami. And you can use this recipe in any ice cream maker you want to make your ice cream
And
in. But I
Sid
have
has a
an old Breville.
Sid has a question too, so I kind of want to address. So Sid was saying, could this be made in a blender or food processor, and not the mixture, actually the ice cream? My Ninja Creami broke last month, 1 month past warranty. So first off, Sid, did you perhaps buy that at Costco? Because if you did, they will still take it back. So right now they have the deluxe at Costco and they have the original at Sam's Club. Costco, I just took back a $500 ice maker that was 1 month out of warranty and they gave me a complete refund. Costco will do that with these small kitchen appliances. They did it for my Vitamix when I had had it for 8 years because something went
Wow.
wrong. So, and if that's true and you need some help, Sid, contact me and we'll talk about that. But you can freeze this mixture in ice cube trays. Let them
Yes.
thaw a little bit. You can then do it in a food processor, blender, or Nana machine. How long you have to let it get soft depends on how hot it is in your kitchen, how hard it froze in your freezer, because you don't want to break anything, and how powerful your blender is. It will be more like soft serve, more like nice cream than the scoopable ice cream. And that's all.
Yeah. Yeah, and definitely you can make this in that way, and it's just a little more hands-on is really what it comes down to. But yeah, you can kind of freeze it, and I've been asked that same thing before when I, create ice cream recipes. Do I need an ice cream maker? You don't, but it does make things easier. So I'm using a Breville, and so I'm just going to basically pour all of this mixture into my Breville, and then I'm just going to turn it on, and that's how that works rather than freezing it overnight. So that's one of the reasons that I like it. But I will say the Breville is expensive compared to the Ninja Creami, and it's very large. It's so big that I have it on a counter in another room. So it's the size of a bread maker, and it takes up quite a bit of counter space. So that's to its not to its credit.
Right.
But
But you
yeah,
already,
there's
what I love is you had an expensive appliance already and you're using it, right? Because not
yeah,
everybody has to have every appliance. I do love the Ninja Creami, but I'm
yeah.
still thinking of doing a video coming soon before the summer's stuff I have that you don't need. But I'm scared that what will happen is you guys will buy all these things that you don't need. Like I have two super bougie things. One is my Opal GE Nugget ice maker. So Cheryl's mom gives us money every Christmas, and I buy something for the kitchen. So that's a $500 ice maker. But I tell you what, I drink 3 times more water because we have it, because I have to, So again, do you need it? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But also, we got a new refrigerator. Our ice maker never worked properly. I can't function as a human being. Yes, I'm bougie like that. And the other thing that you may not know is I like nice hotels. Who knew? Like, I don't, will I wear t-shirts in the nice hotels? Absolutely. And then I have this Breville tea maker, which like you time the tea and you can have it where it does things different ways to make tea perfect for you. Does everybody need that? Absolutely not. But I love it, right? So same thing. I think that while it's also nice to see all the cool new things going on, sometimes there are things that are just perfect for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's so important, I think, to think about what works for you. And sometimes you have to kind of think things through. And I'm like you, Kathy. I like to try things out, and maybe I find that it turns out it's not something I'm going to use very much. My almond cow is kind of like that. I don't use it all the time, but I do use it sometimes. But could I have done without it? Probably. But it is fun, and it's nice to have. And so, I wouldn't necessarily put that in my list of things everyone has to make sure they get in their kitchen. They probably don't. But yeah, but for some people, it's just ideal to be able to do that. So Anyway, this is all set to put into my Breville machine, my ice cream maker that has its own coolant in it. So when I turn it on, it'll take about 77 minutes and it'll turn it into actual ice cream. So I have made some ahead. And so do you want to spin or should I show?
Do you know what? I'm going to put myself on. Well, I can just kind of show real quick that we'll both be up. So I have Vicki's ice cream here in the Ninja Creami. And I'm just going to scrape the top a little bit. Let's see if I can. I have to remember what all my cameras are called to switch properly here. So this, no, that's not. There we go. Yay! This is USB. Oh, see how soft it is? Actually, it's so soft because it's sat out this whole time and it's warm. See how quickly that. I could probably even scoop it now and not spin it. So we talk a lot about, we almost always use light ice cream or sorbet. This, when it's this soft, or if you made a mixture with coconut milk and vegan sugar, which is not in my book, but it's out there, you can make it. That's when you might go ahead and choose regular ice cream. So I'm just going to spin it on regular ice cream because it just says how fast the rod comes down and how fast the blade spins. So I'm going to put it to you and mute myself while I spin this up. Okay. And you can serve yours. We can see all the
very good. Yeah, so here's my version. I've got it in a quart and I just prepared this just ahead and my husband snuck some already. But I also wanted to show you these little cuties because sometimes it's fun to take your ice cream if you don't finish all of it in one setting where you're serving it and enjoying it or sharing it, to put it away, whatever you have left over, into little cute serving size, just individual, kind of like the old Dixie cups used to be. And they're very cute with a little silicone top, and I think they're just adorable. They're like the children that go with the mother size over here. So I've got mine in this container, and I'm just gonna, it's nice and just the right texture really to scoop. And so here we go. And we are ready to serve our ice cream. Is that showing well or is that blurring? So here we are.
That looks so good. I'm at the very end of my spin cycle, so I don't know how loud it is at you guys.
Not very loud, but this is so creamy and it's so good and it's ready to go. And I was telling Kathy I have a late cup of coffee. It's too late in the day for coffee for me, but I'm having one anyway, knowing I'll pay a price later. But how good would this be if I take a little bit of this and sort of turn it into an affogato, little ice cream in my coffee? Yes, please. That's what we're going to do. So I'm going to put away the rest of this.
Oh, that looks so good. And Mary Jean says it looks perfect. And
it's a great texture. It's really creamy, just using whatever milk you like instead of needing it to be coconut milk, for example.
Yeah, and mine, because I left it out a little bit longer. Come here, mouse. It is a little more liquidy than it normally would be because it's been sitting out for 30 minutes. But it's kind of, this one is a frosty consistency.
Yes, it is.
Only because it was left out longer, if that makes sense. So at this point, I could put it in longer, or what I'm probably going to do is turn this into a milkshake for Cheryl. So if you ever get to this consistency and you're like, well, this isn't what I wanted, think about how you could pivot. Either you could put it back in the freezer and then make sure you spin it a little bit without it sitting so long.
Right.
All I would do, have to see, this is pretty thin, so I'd probably put the milk up to the line and then just hit the milkshake button. And one thing I want to tell everybody too is one of the reasons I think some of your recipes do so well in your regular ice cream maker too is that you do use a few cashews, because that really does help it retain its scoopability for
body,
later.
right? Right. It gives it body, right? But there's so many other ways you can get that same thing, right?
Oh, absolutely. So there's different ways. So what I would say for those of you who are wanting to put stuff in, because I get asked a lot, will this work at my normal ice cream maker? I say probably not in general, because so many of my mixtures freeze hard as a rock. So what'll happen is you'll put it in your ice cream maker. It will be beautiful. You will have some of it. You will put it in one of your containers, and you won't be able to scoop any of it out because it's going to freeze solid as a rock. One of the recipes that have nuts in it, which there aren't that many in the book, I tried to group them together, except for your chocolate one, I think is the only one I left not in the nut group. But just so you know, because I don't want you to think, oh, and then break something. Or like if you make Vicki's mixture in ice cube trays, you might only need to let it sit out for 2 minutes, if that. Then you might do my strawberry pear sweetened sorbet and have to let it sit 5 or 10. So just kind of keep an eye on that. And let's see, I know I had some questions. Sid was saying, it looks amazing, wondering if sweet potatoes could be used instead of cashews. Absolutely. And actually in the book, I have like one whole big page is nothing but what I call whole food plant-based thickeners. So obviously nuts help thicken, even whole dates help thicken, but like I used canned pears pureed with its juice that I get at Walmart. They always have them, they're inexpensive. And that's a really great way to sweeten when you don't want that caramel flavor of dates. And that also thickens, so does applesauce, sweet potato, pumpkin. I've got green pea mint that I'm thickening with green peas. I've got a corn cinnamon that I'm thickening with corn. You can use silken tofu. I use okara. I find for me, my two go-tos are okara and white sweet potatoes. You can use orange sweet potatoes, but they bring a flavor with them. So it doesn't match with everything. I made Cheryl an orange sweet potato chocolate, and she was like, no. You will enjoy this tonight because I'm not having it. So
see, that sounds good to me. That sounds good to me. And so now you have in here, if somebody wanted to swap out, it's in the book, how to swap out the cashews for sweet potatoes. And I would say that would be delicious, because I know that chocolate and sweet potatoes, like my sweet potato brownies, are, it's delicious, right? So yeah, but again, it comes down to individual taste. And I was going to say that turning that into a milkshake is a grand idea. You would not be sorry. Cheryl will not be sorry.
No, she's going to be thrilled because she's the chocolate person in the house. Like so I think there's there are 3 main chocolate recipes in a Nutella, a chocolate hazelnut recipe in there. Obviously, with any of the base chocolate recipes, you can turn it into all the chocolate things. Cheryl wants chocolate. So if I put orange in her chocolate, she's angry. If I put lavender in her chocolate, she is angry. And she's not really angry. She's like, why'd you ruin my chocolate? That's angry enough for me. And I'm like, no, but now it tastes good. It does, because plain chocolate isn't what I love. I love chocolate orange. I love something else in there. But I love a really good vanilla. Like,
me too.
That, and I was on Chef AJ's yesterday, and I made a vanilla, and I used the vanilla caviar. I cut up one of my hoarded vanilla beans, cut it in half, and scraped out the middle and added it. And we're going to have that tonight, and it's going to be just like super decadent.
I have a photo of a vanilla ice cream that I make that's in my dessert book, as a matter of fact. And the funny thing is about it, it's called Berry Vanilla. It looks just like chocolate because it's sweetened with dates. And so it does. It's still quite dark, and quite dark indeed between the vanilla and the dates. So I think that's kind of funny. They all look the same.
I agree too. And it will change, and that's one of the reasons why I was trying using some pears and applesauce also as kind of whole sweeteners. And you could use fresh pears, but to me, fresh pears are like avocados. They're right for like 3 seconds. And the time that we're able to eat them, I eat all the pears. There's like 2 weeks that I can eat all the pears I can hold, and then I will not see a perfect pear again. And so I
Yes.
don't have a pear tree, and I'm not willing to freeze them. So, but you guys can use that. And it's a way of incorporating some other sweetness without getting, again, the darkness and the caramel from the dates, which can be really, like, I think it's perfect in a vanilla, like with the orchid vanilla and a little bit of date. It just,
Yeah. That sounds wonderful. It sounds so good. Yeah. But that's a great idea to use a white sweet potato instead. Absolutely. Why not?
and I really didn't do a lot of white sweet potatoes till the past year. And when I bake them, the whole house smells like vanilla cake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Because it does have that vanilla aroma that's so intoxicating.
Ooh, yeah, it's awesome. So what other, do you have other ice creams in there too?
So in my dessert book, I actually have a couple of other ice creams. One of them is a cappuccino cinnamon.
Ooh.
And again, it kind of looks the same. It's that same kind of color. But yeah, that's another fun flavor that we like.
Oh, that's great. Is
So
this the same cookbook that was in the bundle, or is this a different cookbook?
it is,
So
and this
some
is
of you guys have
available.
this. So look
Yes,
in
some
their
of you
bundle.
do. If you have the bundle, you've got it in your bundle. And if you didn't choose to get the bundle this year, it's available on my website, on my shop page. So it's Feel Good, Feel Great Desserts, and it is over 80 pages, about 34 recipes. Each recipe has its own photograph. And yeah, these are really all plant-based, sugar-free, oil-free, and gluten-free as well. And I'll also just add, since you were asking me, Kathy, what else I've been up to, this is my cookbook, which came about a year before, which is called the Plant-Based for Life Cookbook, and that's also available on my website or through Amazon. And that's over 100 recipes, all plant-based, and the subtitle is Deliciously Simple Recipes to Nourish, Comfort, Energize, and Renew.
And I have a copy
Kathy.
too.
Yay!
It's really
Thank
good.
you.
It's got some really yummy recipes in there. And you can get that on Amazon or wherever books are sold.
And that has some other ice creams in it, including a peanut butter ice cream and let's see what else, a matcha ice cream.
Well, and you contributed a matcha ice cream to my first Ninja Creami ebook, which you guys can still get if you got the Ninja Creami experience. It came with that. I had it for sale last year, so yum.
Yes. Yeah, matcha green tea ice cream. Finally, an ice cream that's not brown. It's a rare event for me.
That's great. Oh yeah, actually that's true. Apple, Vicki's dessert book won an award on Tom and Tammy's award show during the bundle.
It did. Thank you, Apple. Yes, it won the award for best cupcake on the cover or something like that. Something very cute.
It was a very cute show for sure. Melanie says, I make soy milk without any machines, which you absolutely can do. Absolutely. So I even when I was talking about that, I wanted to make sure that you knew you don't have to have one, but I find for me it makes it a lot easier.
And sometimes that's the whole key, right? Because if it makes it easy and enjoyable, that might make the difference between doing it and not doing it. Like, I think I'm going to check it out to see if that would be something that would work for me. And I have to be honest with myself. If I am afraid I might get it, but really still not use it, then I probably wouldn't. But if it looks like it'd be fun enough to make, I might do it.
You can make soups in it too because it has heat. So Dee is on here, and Dee loves the almond cow. The almond cow is not my favorite because it's the same price as the Mio Mat, and it doesn't have heat, but it does sort of strain things. But I'm okay. And actually, I hopefully next week I will be able to make an appointment with this guy because I'm trying to get the strainer I'm using is plastic, and I'm trying to see if I can get them to make a stainless steel one for all of us. But just
can you use your Instant Pot for the heating process?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and you know what temperature you need to get it to in order to make it what you need.
For the soy milk, as long as the beans are cooked thoroughly. So if you're used to cooking other beans, it's not a magic temperature, really. It's just, I think some people think, oh, so you could soak your soybeans. So someone's sending me some juicer that you guys will see once they send it to me. They was like, you can make tofu from this. And I was like, really? So I was like looking, and the process is the same as all the unheated things. So you make this unheated soy milk, and then you must heat it. Because you can't, even if you soak the beans, put it through a juicer, you'll come out with something that looks like soy milk, but it will upset your stomach. It's not okay to ingest without cooking is all, just soybeans. So you could cook the soybeans and then put them in the almond cow, which is what I know Dee does. I always say if you're just going to make oat milk, it's not really worth your time to get a machine of any kind, because you're not really going to use that. But like, I love the heating. I had the soy Bella before this one, and the beans still tasted green. The milk still tasted green to me, or not pleasant. And so what I would do is make the milk in it, put it in the Instant Pot for 10 minutes. And then that was enough. So usually if you've had this experience where you've tasted it and it's been kind of like
the old soy milk, kind of.
Exactly. Cooking it a little longer almost always, actually has always saved it for me.
Yeah, that really makes sense. So you're putting raw beans into your Mio Mac. Is that the right name?
Yeah. And if you guys want the Mio Mat, if you use my name, Kathy Hester, I think you get $15 off. But it's not super cheap. It's about the same price as a Ninja Creami. So I'm not saying you need it. If you want to make soy milk, you want to make a larger amount of soy milk, like 4 or 5 cups, it's a great tool. I also love the Arc Mirror for like single family. Let's just make some little stuff. And I travel with that. So like I'll throw in some cashews and a tea bag and a date and turn that on and for 5 minutes and make lattes that I strain out when we travel, like tea lattes and stuff. And if you're like, I want more information about these milk makers, go to my website, healthyslowcooking.com. I've got a whole article, and then I demoed all of them here. I just get excited about things in case y'all didn't notice. And it's one of the things I'm excited.
I know. I've watched your video and talked with you before about the milks, and I'm always get excited when I see you making the milks and comparing. I know you've done a lot of really good research that we can all benefit from. And so I'm very excited about that idea to just be able to use that because it's kind of like one-stop shopping. If you do want to make soy milk, it sounds like if you're looking for a machine that'll do a lot of the heavy lifting for you, that would be the way to go. If you're willing to do those other steps, you're fine without it, it sounds like.
Absolutely. Yeah, you don't have, obviously for thousands and thousands of years, people made soy milk without a soy milk maker, right? So it can be done. And Karen wants to know.
But for lazy people, it would save me some steps, it sounds like. So I think I might want to explore, and I appreciate learning this from you.
And it's easy because then I just buy a big bag of beans. They're in my pantry, and I fill up my little owl when it's time, and I just take things out from there. Karen wants to know, do you have any favorite recipes in either or both of those books of yours? Would love to know what those favorites are. So in your
absolutely. And sometimes it's hard to pick because it's like they're all my children. But among my favorites are this Black Forest cupcake, which is very, very easy to make the cupcake. Just a few ingredients, and then a chocolate sauce that the recipe's in here, and then just topping it with cherries, 2 kinds of cherries to be extra pretty. Here, let's see if I can show you the photo. So that's one of my favorites. And of course the cover, with this sweet potato frosting. It's the same cupcake, just a different frosting. And I actually make a couple of different versions. One has a cupcake in here. One cupcake is a peppermint chocolate cupcake, where it's pretty much the same one, but there's a little bit of peppermint added, which is nice around the holidays. So those are some of my favorites, but also a couple of really lovely recipes that have, well, here's one, a cocoa banana cake. That is a fun one. And a couple others, let's see, those are a couple just kind of jumping out at me. An apple cake, this is made with apple butter. And here's one, and I think I might just come back and make this one on Kathy's show next month, because Kathy's invited me back. And I'm thinking I might make this, which is a banana split mini bundt cakes. Really easy and really delicious. From, you know, basically a banana bread turned into bundt cakes with all kinds of delicious toppings on it. So those are a couple of my favorites from there. And in here, I just have a whole bunch. There are a lot of pasta recipes and soup recipes that are just on my rotation all the time. Let's see if I can find a couple of quick ones. A best split pea soup that I make all the time, more in the cooler weather. And this creamy cauliflower and carrot soup that I make all the time. And yeah, lots of good stuff. And my mac and cheese perfection, I call it. This is usually in my refrigerator, this sauce, because it's so good in on so many things: pasta, vegetables, potatoes. So those are some of the ones I make a lot. My Grand Slam tempeh burgers I like to make, especially this time of year, and lots of delicious salads. And here's a potato salad I really love that's got dill, fresh dill in it, and some pickles. And lots of good recipes for breakfast too. One of my favorite breakfast recipes that's in here is my fresh plum oatmeal muffins, plum and nectarine.
It's about to be plum season. Yeah, plum season's coming up.
Yeah, and so you can use fresh or frozen fruit. Fresh especially, and fresh plum and nectarine is what inspired it. But in the off season, I might use frozen peaches or mangoes or things like that. And this one is another one of my favorites. It's a baked red flannel hash, and it's got potatoes, sweet potatoes, onions, and beets. And they all roast together in the oven until they're just delicious. And this is a great one, speaking of machines, to use your Breville potato dicer on, if you happen to have one. And that's another great video that Kathy has done to help people who have that learn how to use their machine. And I have loved that one as well. You did that on Chef AJ's show, I think.
Yeah, it's really cute. And then actually, then Chef AJ didn't use it for a while, so I Zoomed with her. Like, she does not like to read the manuals, so I am her personal manual for things like that.
Yeah, you know, I think we all learn in a different way, and so sometimes you can have all the information in front of you, and it just looks like a blur because it's just too much. Can be kind of overwhelming and hard to sort out, and some of us learn differently, and so I think some of us need to see Kathy make something. Some of us need to hear her tell us what to do. And some of us maybe need to read what she wrote. But that's why one of the reasons that you're so accessible and so user-friendly for people to learn from, because you do all the works that helps us sort out what will be useful for us. And I mean, you're just so good at what you do.
I try. And I know a lot of you guys are emailing me right now when my brain is very full. So some of you may not hear from me till next week unless you pop in a live, and then I'll answer your questions. And there's some questions over here. One was, Karen just said she just bought dried soybeans. I'm not sure how to go about making my own soy milk and if it's worth it, because Trader Joe's has a good one, and it does. And that's the cheapest one and the best one. So cook them first and then in the Nutri-Milk. So actually in the comments while Vicki was talking, I looked up Nutri-Milk's recipe for how they recommend that you do it. Nutri-Milk is a little bit different than the other milk makers, so I wanted to give you that. I have demoed some stuff, but not soy milk in it because I'm too lazy. And Kathy says most soy milk recipes soak, blend, strain, then cook the milk. The okara from this process would be raw. It's not good to use for the creamy then. Correct. Correct. Everything from the soybean needs to be cooked before you use it. So if you use a milk maker like I do, the okara is cooked right on. So basically the beans are cooked and pureed at the same time. So everything's cooked. But if you soak, puree, then strain, then cook, if cooking's your last step, then you would also have to cook the okara. Melanie says she steams the okara separately in the Instant Pot, and I think that's a great solution for sure. Sella, and I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong, I want to make nut milk, which is good for that. Any of them. So with the Meomat, if I do, even if you do a raw cycle, it heats it slightly. It just heats it to whatever the raw okay temperature is. So it does heat it. So like if you have the Meomat and you're determined to make oat milk in it, use the smoothie setting because you don't want to heat it. A lot of milk makers say oats and grains. Well, that's cooked and they're expecting a different product than we are. They're not making Oatly that way, right? It's going to make a very thick, creamy drink that is not like Oatly. So that's okay. But the almond cow is nice. It kind of strains things out. Again, it's just not my personal favorite because I don't feel like the motor, they won't give me how big the motor is. But from the cycles are very short and I run 2, which means it goes 4 and it takes like 10 minutes. Whereas I feel like the Meomat runs significantly longer and I work it incredibly hard. The Nutri-Milk is great, especially if you're someone who wants to make nut butters or really large amounts of almond milk. But it's also $500, whereas the Meomat's like $200. And if you already have a blender, it's free, right? So you have to kind of think about those things. Like with the soy milk and having it cooked, to me, that was worth the extra money. Mm-hmm. So some of the milk makers I have either given away or I have kind of on semi-permanent loan places. But the Archmira and the Meomat are my 2 go-tos because of that. But if you are like, I like almond milk, but I really don't like straining it. If you can learn to like cashew milk, which you probably can, I think cashew milk's a little tastier. It is a little bit sweeter, which may be why I like it. But you have almost nothing to strain out of a cashew milk. Mm-hmm. And so that's a really good one to kind of do. Hey, Miss Obbs is here. My friend Simply Obbs, and you guys need to go listen to her inspirational minute-ish over on her channel. She's got a great story, and she's actually been on a plant-based weight loss journey, and she's kicking its butt. So, and Obbs, hopefully you got my memo about the blender, and we can talk more. So text me. Okay, Mary Jean says, I don't have your first book. I'm assuming first Ninja Creami ebook. Will this still give me lots of info, or should I purchase the first book first? You don't have to purchase the first book first. They both tell you how to use your machine. They both have completely different recipes, except I think they both have 4 staples recipes that overlap because I tell you how to make date syrup, date paste, oat cream, and nut and seed milk cream. So those are the only things that are duplicated. Nothing else is duplicated. And I use a slightly different, I'm approaching it from a slightly different perspective. Both work really great. The first book, while you could use other things, was a little more oat forward. This book is a little more whole food plant-based thickener forward, and oats could be part of that. And in fact, one of the whole food plant-based thickener is leftover steel cut oats, because that works great too. Kathy says, I've been using a recipe because she's making the soy milk by herself, that blends the beans, then cooks the puree, strain, and then cooks the milk. Oh, then if it cooks the puree and then you strain, then your okara is cooked. Just know that too. What machine do you use every other day? She's using the Miomat as well, I believe is what she was saying. Okay, someone was asking Melanie how long she steams the okara in the Instant Pot. I would guess 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes would probably do. Oh, you do 25. Okay. 10, I would think, well, 25 would be fine. Actually, with any of that stuff, when it's going to have that potential to taste green and underdone, 25 is probably the better choice because you can go take a walk and come back and it'll be done. Do you have any more ice cream wisdom for us, Vicki, before we head out?
Well, you know what I'll say? There's no bad ice cream. They're all good. So I'd say be inspired by Kathy's recipes and, make substitutions when you see like something special, a special fresh fruit that's grabbing you or something like that. And just really the thing is to just have fun and get it, inspired and be able to create all the treats you want at home anytime you want. And I think that, I guess I'd say the only last thing is to always have something on hand, either be making something or got something to go to, because then you are never tempted to stray from all the healthy choices. And they're so good. You will never truly, honestly, ever miss the old kind of ice cream that clogs our arteries. You never will want that again because this is better. It's better, fresher, cleaner. You know exactly what's in it, and it's just really just the very best thing ever. So it's just a wonderful new collection, and you really do need both of Kathy's books because they do have a whole new, each one has its own collection of recipes that will inspire and delight.
Aw, thank you. That's so sweet of you. So,
Yeah.
and Lydia was saying, I have the soy Bella. Does that cook the okara? Yes. If it cooks the soybeans and you can have the milk afterwards, it cooks the okara, you're good. Karen wants me to let you know, Vicki, that she made your no-bake mocha brownies and they were delicious.
Oh,
I added a
yay. Thank
sprinkling of
you.
nuts and chocolate chips.
Oh,
It said,
yes.
"'Twould
Good
be
choice.
nice with a side of nice cream." Indeed.
Oh, you got it. Exactly right. Thank you so much. I'm so glad to hear that.
That is awesome. And I agree too. One of the things too to think about, so again, you can use ice cube trays in a blender if you're on a budget, right? Still make the recipes.
Yep.
I think if you don't have another way that you want to do it, getting a Ninja Creami, and I would suggest getting it at Costco, has the deluxe. I don't care if you get the deluxe or the original. You can make all the things in both, even though there's not buttons for both. Trust me, I tell you how over and over again. The new book also has measurements for both the deluxe and the original. So I've got you there. The reason I like Costco more is not because Costco has the deluxe, but Costco will take it back. So if you're like, I don't know, maybe grab it at Costco, test it out a couple times. If it's not for you, they'll give you your money back. So it's a real easy way to do that. If you're really wanting the original, so the main difference is the deluxe has a 3-cup container, the original has a 2-cup container. So depending on your freezer space, how much ice cream you want to have at one time. And I do agree with Vicki that a lot of people go, well, I don't want to think about 24 hours before I want ice cream that I want ice cream. Well, you should just have a few pints in your freezer.
Yeah.
I am almost down to 30 pints right now. So it's nice to have extra containers. You do not need as many containers as I do unless you too want to write a book. But but having even 6, you can make for the summer. You can make little smoothie bowls, because like even Vicki's chocolate ice cream, you could swap out rolled oats for the cashews and add in some greens and other things that you might want to put. So you could even have chocolate breakfast if
That's
that
right.
works for
Top it
you.
with fresh berries, and yeah, absolutely. That's really right. And 6 would not be too many, because you maybe would have a couple that are frozen and a couple that are in your dishwasher and a couple ready to spin, and just keeping them on rotation, always kind of thinking ahead so you've got something ready to enjoy whenever the urge hits you or anyone in your household, that you've got something nice ready to go.
And I think it's something else to think about, because I know most of us here are eating whole food, plant-based, no oil. So that means even the vegan ice cream that we have access to probably doesn't fit in to what we're doing, because almost all of
Right.
them have added oils.
And
And
sugar, table sugar.
yeah, and
Cane
table
sugar.
sugar. And they're like $10 for a pint. This is a
Yeah,
pint. So
yeah,
the little pears that I was talking about, and I may have, yeah, I do. This is $1.25. You can
yeah.
get a can of crushed pineapple to make Dole Whip for less than $2.
Right,
And while, yes, just like the Meomat, like the Instant Pot, like any of your appliances, you do kind of have to think out, am I only going to use this twice and never use it again? If that's your firm decision, then you probably shouldn't get one. However, if you're like me, usually I get on, once I get comfortable with it, it's just very easy to have a bunch of vanilla ice creams. We have strawberry ice creams, and then when we want something sweet, there's not that temptation, which to make our, because we do the Dr. McDougall like 90 to 95%. So we give ourselves a little wiggle room. Okay, you too. Okay. So sometimes if it's been a very, very bad day for both of us, we might go get that vegan Cherry Garcia and have some sometime. But we have to go to the store. We have to pick something out. We're trying to talk ourselves out of it the whole time. Whereas I can go and go, look, I have some cherry ice cream. Let's just put some chocolate chips in it. And then we can have that little taste of sweet
right,
without it costing us anything, at
right,
least emotionally. It doesn't have an emotional toil when you're eating the foods already that you want to eat,
right,
I think.
right. And I feel like that's one of the things that is like, can be kind of a guidepost for us if we're tempted to do something. And it doesn't mean that we don't sometimes, any of us, go out or, you know, buy something outside and bring it in or whatever. Of course, that's real life, and that may happen from time to time. But if your goal is to eat more at home with food you can control, then one of the guidelines can just be, is this something I'm going to feel good about later that I ate? Will I feel better that I had something I already had handy at home? And so when you have the choice of creating all these exciting flavors with all these ingredients that are so delicious, chocolate and cherries and all the things you just mentioned, like why wouldn't that be the first choice? Plus it is so much more budget friendly. And then later, not only do we feel good like up here, but we really feel good down here too, because we're not having digestive issues from all that oil, or just not the good energy that we might have from eating more pure food. And so we don't want to judge ourselves. These things happen from time to time. We all succumb from now and then, I'm sure. But to the extent that we can maybe prevent the temptation, we'll thank ourselves later.
Right. And here's another thing too. I will tell you, because I did, when I first got the Ninja Creami, I made the coconut milk recipe in the book just to make sure I could understand how the machine worked. Every time I use anything like that, I have to put the pints in the dishwasher. The pints that I'm making my recipes in, I just rinse
Yeah,
out, put a little soap in, and that's it.
yeah,
So they're
yeah.
going to get less wear and tear. But just imagine all that scrubbing that you're having to do is also
In
inside too.
us,
Ugh.
and we can't scrub it out, so it's staying there
Right.
comparatively. Yeah.
It's not super happy, but again, part of doing this is you've made a choice to do it. And then having things around you that work best. Like I love having cooked Korean sweet potatoes. I'm out of mine. I think I have 2 more. So tomorrow I'm going to be going to get a case of sweet potatoes, and so I can cook them and have them in the fridge, because whenever, for me, I work and then I don't eat and I look up and I'm like, I'm starving. So I need something I can just grab and eat cold out of the fridge sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Cheryl needs to always have rice. And I feel like with the Ninja Creami, it means that we can always kind of have a little bit of sweet and add, for
Exactly.
her, she doesn't like fruit that much. So it actually gets fruit into her,
Mm,
which can be a great thing if you have kids and grandkids too, who are
absolutely.
picky
Yeah.
eaters.
Yeah. For
Uh,
me, it's got to be potatoes. I've got to have white potatoes. And I like sweet potatoes and all the other great things you mentioned, but I've got to always have potatoes on hand in some form, baked potatoes or mashed potatoes that are, I cooked in the Instant Pot or whatever, along with vegetables and other things. But I always need to have potatoes no matter what.
and it's interesting. It's interesting to learn what you want and if it changes. Like I kind of get on little neurospicy trains, and so I could eat the same thing every day for a period of time. And it's Cheryl does not like. She would not eat a sweet potato. She likes them fine if I make sweet potato black bean chili. And I was on potatoes when she started being on rice, and she tried. And she's like, but for her, actually, potatoes for lunch, rice for dinner, hit the perfect sweet spot
Mm-hmm.
too. So be kind to yourself and experiment
Yeah.
a little bit, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Be kind to yourself and kind of listen to that inner craving and see how you might satisfy it with something that's a healthy choice.
Right, because I've been overworked. I overworked myself last week, and I thought I was not overworking myself this week, but I made plans when I was already overworked, so I didn't make good decisions. And yesterday, I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh my gosh, I want something crunchy so bad." I
Yeah.
was online so long, and so I went downstairs and got some ultra thin tortillas, cut them up, and put them in my air fryer, and I made a homemade salsa verde, and that was delightful. Right?
Perfect. Right.
It may
Right.
have not been the perfect, it would, if eating a potato been better, perhaps, but this worked really well, you
Yeah. You knew
know?
what you needed. Yeah. It's a great choice.
So it's very interesting. And I just want you guys all to know that, it's okay to try and figure things out and think what works for you. And Lissa says, I love how easy you show that you can pull an appliance in and out of the cupboard instead of feeling that all the appliances need to take up space on the counter at all times. That is only because I have way more than a normal human being should have. So, do you need four
Yeah.
milk makers? No. I don't even think you should have four milk makers. I have 3 Ninja Creamies. I have 4 Instant Pots, but it's a little different when you're doing content or teaching classes. So sometimes I teach classes and I use all the Instant Pots,
Exactly.
right? And I'm sure you have
Right.
the same experience. Like you end up needing more appliances or more liners or more Ninja
Right.
Creami pints than the average human being.
That's right.
Well, thank you so much for contributing to the book. My mouse is being weird. I'm so sorry. There's no subtle way to do this. Because if I can't click the finish button, we're here forever. That does not help us all, but thank you for being so kind and contributing a recipe again to my ebook. It really means the world to me, and I'm just so excited to see your new venture for the bundle next year and to see what you're making next month when you come back on to visit with me.
Absolutely. I can't wait. And thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be part of this, and I just adore you. So I'm so happy to have a chance to talk with you. It's like my favorite thing. So thanks for spending time with me, and looking forward to next time.
Anytime. Okay, you guys, have a very, very good day. Eat something delicious that fits in what you want to do. So maybe that's potatoes, some rice, some veggies. Make it as easy as you need it to be tonight, okay? And I will see you guys tomorrow night at the very late time of 8 p.m. in the Eastern Standard Time night, because Chef Yen is coming on. So she's coming on from Malaysia. So she's the only person I stay up that late for. But she's delightful, and you guys are going to enjoy her a lot. So anyhow, have the very best night, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.